Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me. And I'm back with actually a brand new Naofumi What If. What if Naofumi was the legendary chainsaw hero? And I want to say something really quick. If you hear me stop a little bit during the video, I apologize. I am sick a little bit, and it is a little bit difficult to record at the moment. So I'm gonna be recording this in pieces. So maybe I'll record for like 10 minutes, stop for a little bit, record a little bit more, stuff like that. But we're here nonetheless, and we're back with another Naofumi What If, and this one should definitely be fun. And I have some ideas for this one as well, so I hope y'all enjoy. And if you do, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, and make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope all y'all enjoy. Let's get into the what if. Let's get it. Naofumi Iwatani was just a normal boy. Well, boy is definitely not what I would necessarily call him. He is an adult male, about 22 years old. And he would just be staying home with his parents, of course, giving him an allowance and having a good time reading and watching anime and reading some manga. And he would just be a normal lad, frankly, a normal person that just enjoyed his time. On top of this, he would be living right next to a giant farm where he actually would work from time to time, cutting down trees and actually helping the good old farmer that's there get ready for winter, summer, and so on and so forth. And he gets paid on a fraction of what basically is sold on the farm. It's a nice life for Naofumi. He might get an allowance, but he also gets a pretty penny from helping with the farm, so he also gets a decent amount of money. This allows him to just have a pretty decent and nice life, at least for the last couple years, and he decides that this next paycheck, he's gonna go take it to the library and check out some brand new manga. When he finds the library, of course, this brand new spanking library that looks amazing, he walks in to look around. Looking more and more, finding some amazing manga, eventually finding an odd story. The story of a ton of cardinal heroes. Not really his cup of tea. He doesn't like the idea of being, a normal hero, cardinal hero. That sounds very religious based. Sounds kind of lame. But out of nowhere, he begins to flip the page to see this weird looking chainsaw. But then a man that looks ragdoll, destroyed, almost at the edge of death. What is that? Why would that be in this type of book? He continues to flip, and there's nothing else there. It's just clear pages, as if it was all transparent. Nothing at all. But just as he goes to put the book down, he hears a deafening silence in the room, and the book sucks him in. Immediately, he would end up in a brand new place, a place unknown to him, and he would look around to see 3 other people holding weapons. These would be a bow, a spear, and also a sword. He would be shocked to see this and looks around himself to see that he has a weird chainsaw. Now, this is interesting. I mean, he's of course used the chainsaw before, but why does he have a chainsaw? He's not so sure. But of course, he doesn't think too much about it, at least at the moment. But when the royal knights and many others come down to greet the 4 cardinal heroes and explanations are given about why they are there, well, caution is thrown to the wind, especially when they see that chainsaw. The chainsaw terrifies them, bringing him up to the king, and Naofumi, without even a second look, is thrown out, as if he's some sort of garbage. The knights even chase him as if they want him dead. Obviously Naofumi's not so sure what's going on, and he has no idea what this world even is. He continues out, taking his chainsaw, and he tries to throw it to the side, but as he does, it just appears back on his back. Obviously Naofumi is taken back by this. It must be some sort of trick. Maybe he's sleeping. As he pinches himself, nothing occurs. He's not sleeping. What is going on? He realizes something though. This world is different, far different. Naofumi begins to think that this must be some sort of dream, some sort of joke, some sort of nightmare in a way. He begins to continue to walk around in this weird world, but he realizes pretty quickly, this is no dream. This is life or death now. He realizes that he needs to survive. This isn't some normal, world he once loved and learned in. He's in a world that is unknown to him, and now he needs to somehow use his own willpower to survive. He begins to look at his chainsaw that he's currently carrying around, and one that he tried to throw away. And he begins to, do what he possibly could with that said chainsaw, and that's chop down some trees. In the wilderness nearby, he begins to cut down woods, and a decent amount in fact. He begins to kind of make a little bit of a shelter out of this wood, but he's so, inexperienced in general with this aspect, there's not much he can really do to, make a nice place for himself to live. But he continues to do this, and then also taking the leftover logs and putting them aside. But before he could even take a rest and sit down and take a break, he's actually swarmed and attacked by small creatures and animals. Luckily, being able to defend himself and fend them off, he's able to kill a couple of them using the chainsaw. And actually using the chainsaw, able to absorb the different materials that those animals have. Of course, Naofumi is pretty interested in the fact that his chainsaw just absorbed these creatures, but that's a whole nother, question for a whole nother day. He takes this time to get set up, make sure that he's safe underneath this house of his, which is barely even a house, and he heads to bed. He falls asleep, and in the next morning, early morning, he hears these guards that are around his house. It seems as if the guards are looking for him, so he gets up as quick as possible and leaves. He wonders why these knights/guards are even trying to hunt him down, especially because they were so quick to throw him out. Maybe they realize something. Maybe they know something Naofumi doesn't, but he's not so sure what's even going on. Nonetheless, though, he decides to take the logs when the guards or the knights leave and begins to head off to a new location, eventually finding a small village. This village is known as Loot. Of course, he's not actually able to he doesn't have any money, so he can't spend money to stay anywhere near there. But the people of Loot are actually extremely nice. They have heard rumors of what Naofumi is and are giving him an opportunity to actually stay there as long as he can basically help them out with certain tasks. And of course, Naofumi can do what he can. He helps out as much as possible, and for the next couple of days, he does just that. The village likes him very much, and during the nights, Naofumi would try and go back into Melromart just to get some supplies that he would need in the future, but he wasn't really able to get that much. He doesn't know the place very well. He just knows that it's a place with hot commodities, so he knew that there would be some things that would definitely help him out. But after going there a couple times and leveling up out of pure just, cutting down trees and slaying animals, he would finally get past level 10. Level 10 giving him actually something kind of odd. It's a little pet. A pet that is kind of ingrained in his, leveling system and actually his HUD menu. The pet doesn't actually exist in, real life. It's kind of odd. He believes that it would have been kind of cool to drag the pet out into real life. Maybe he could actually help him work, but he doesn't even know how to do that at this moment, so it kind of just sits there. The pet is like this little small animal with a weird chainsaw at the top of its head. It's adorable but scary at the same time, believing that it must be some sort of demonic dog creature that will saw his hands off, but that's something else for another time. But one night when he's passing through Melromart, he actually is stopped by this odd looking man. This man is actually a slave trader that begins to greet Naofumi within his, domain. As Naofumi walks in, he sees a ton of these enslaved creatures, in which Naofumi says that he doesn't want any part in this. But of course, the slave trader eggs him on, saying that he'll take whatever he has. He can actually even take this like some of these other animals. There's some that are super weak and really can't fend for themselves. And eventually Naofumi would come across a demi-human that is practically on death's door, in which he doesn't have money to pay for this demi-human at all, but he gives what he can. And obviously the slave trader says that it's squared away. It's not like the demi-human would mean much. It's basically a dead body at this point, that he'd be taking out the trash for him anyways, in which the slave trader allows Naofumi to take her away, and as he puts a slave crest on her. But obviously this would be complimentary, because Naofumi would be absolutely broke after this point. He would take her, but not understanding why she would need a slave crest anyways. But Naofumi would take her away to Loot Village in hopes of getting her some sort of healing and actually getting her some medicine. Luckily, there's some people there that care a lot about Naofumi and actually enjoy his presence, but do question the whole slave crest antics. But he explains exactly what occurred, and he just wanted to get her out of there as soon as possible. And of course, the people of Loot Village would understand that, and it would make a lot of sense. So they would try to get her any medicine, and it would allow her to feel just a little bit better. But she still would be going through a lot of the trauma and other things like that she's been going through. Luckily though, during one of Naofumi's trips, he does come across a bunch of herbs and different things that would definitely allow him to eventually allow Raphtalia, who is the demi-human that they got, basically to become healthy. And after about maybe a week or so, she would be just that, healthy. Naofumi would head over to her, and as she's just sitting there, just kind of terrified, he tells her that everything is okay, that everything is going to be okay. He's not too in depth in this world, but he promises to make sure that she won't go through whatever happened before, won't let it happen again. And of course, the people of Loot Village say that they will help do the same, even against the waves. But as they say this, Naofumi's confused. What the heck is the waves? They're shocked to hear this. How does he not know about the waves? Of course he has to know about the waves. In which Naofumi would be, well, obviously they would explain to Naofumi what they are, in which he's in complete and utter shock. He begins to tell them that he's played video games with such events, at least not exactly the same, but very similar, that they need to start fortifying the village and they need to start getting really prepared. Naofumi apologizes for basically slacking on that regard, but they say that they can't really do much about it. They just rely on the guards and hope that the heroes save them. In which Naofumi shakes his head, saying that he's supposed to be one of the heroes. But guess what? They kicked him out thinking that he was some sort of fake, not wanting someone like him around, that he's not sure what even occurred. But they ask him, what other weapons were the other people using? And when he announces that there's a sword, a spear, and a bow, but no shields, there's some mild, if not heavy concern wash over them. Is there no shield hero? How's it possible that another hero could be swapped out? They're not so sure, but that's just something they'll need to deal with, I guess, in the future if that concern comes up once again. Naofumi and Raphtalia would begin working around the village, and the villagers would help as well, helping him fortify various amounts of the buildings and actually allowing him to level up on various creatures throughout the forest relatively easily. Naofumi, ironically enough, actually is super skilled at cutting wood, well, for one, because he has a chainsaw, but also he can actually fortify things extremely well. It's kind of weird. He feels that there's more power beyond his just chainsaw, that his chainsaw must have something within it, in depth, that he can make his strength excel massive amounts. He sees his skill tree within his HUD menu, and there's so much there, but there's so little he's actually doing. All of it involves, well, furniture, fortification, cutting down trees, skinning and basically cutting up animals. Stuff like that is involved in some stuff that he has, But this skill tree, there's hundreds, maybe even thousands beneath it, but he has none of it. He doesn't understand. He only has the basic amounts of damage and attack that the chainsaw has initially. But still, at least it's good enough for now. But Naofumi would begin to think that maybe there's some chances he'll need to take to get at least a little stronger. Naofumi and Rautalia would head out, but Naofumi would tell Rautalia that she should stay there. They don't have a weapon for her, and there's nothing he can really do about that at the moment. Naofumi then pats her on the head, apologizing, but as he does this, something appears out of his chainsaw. It's a small little animal? He's not so sure. This little animal is the same thing he saw in his HUD menu. How is this even possible? How was he even able to do this? It seems as if once he got a companion part of his party, which he didn't even know was a possible thing to do, it actually attaches to the companion instead of himself. He's not so sure if it can even attach to himself, but I guess it's a cool thing to think about that he's able to attach this pet, and maybe it will help protect Rautalia and allow Rautalia to, well, be stronger, I guess. He's not so sure, but Rautalia would just have it on her shoulder, and it would be just that alone. That's it. It would just sit on her shoulder and just be fine right there. He's not so sure how that works, but nonetheless, he'll go with it. Now Fumi would head off to a nearby cave. A cave that hopefully would allow him to fight a little bit stronger monsters, but find some ways of making some more cash. He does need to send some other people from Loot Village into Melromark to actually get some more cash and get some more money, and also maybe even going up the trail further to see if there's any other ways of making money on top of that. Now Fumi would continue this path, and eventually he would come across a terrifying creature within that cave. Within that cave, there's a creature that would be preposterous, a giant dog, a two-headed dog, as if this dog was going to basically destroy them. This dog would howl and try to attack Naofumi and Rautalia, and Naofumi would try to defend Rautalia, but she's terrified, scared, not knowing what to do. But as she finally builds up the courage to help, well, her Naofumi, or Master Naofumi, she finally is able to step forward. But just as she does, it seems as if a smaller chainsaw appears right in her arms, as if she is now connected to the weapon, just like Naofumi. Immediately, they're able to saw half of the monster off and defeat it. Just, well, barely. Naofumi is at death's door, and there's no extra defense that Naofumi actually had before, so she actually is forced to drag him off. And, well, when they arrive at Loot Village, he would be close to death's door. Luckily, in the village of Loot, he's able to get healed up by some magical powers. This is definitely eye-opening for Naofumi. How are there powers such like this that could take him, someone who was basically destroyed and almost, well, dead, and bring him practically back to life? Well, luckily he wasn't actually dead, because if he was, there would be no really bringing him back to life, I guess. But still, he's happy that he's alive, and he continues questing and actually building on Loot Village to hopefully protect it on the onslaught that is soon to come. And that onslaught will come very, very soon. Weeks would pass, and when they would, it would be finally time for the very first wave. Now Fumi would be extremely concerned, not knowing exactly what's going to happen, but he's sitting around a level of 20, with Rautalia near a level of about 16 to 17. They haven't really been able to, quote-unquote, really train, but now Fumi has been, well, questing and helping people this entire time, and since that involves active experience points gains, luckily he's able to, well, level up as he went. And he was so active throughout this time, so he was able to at least keep up to an extent. And also on top of that, he was working on building an area around Loot Village to make it more fortified. And this would have been, well, is shown to eventually be an amazing idea, because when the wave begins, it's such a surprise to all of them because, well, Naofumi's not allowed in Melromark. He can't just waltz in and check when the wave starts. So when it does start, luckily, the immediate danger is halted. Naofumi, Rautalia, and many others that are currently in Loot Village who have been training and waiting for this moment, even some of the younger people currently there, are now fending off the monsters with relative ease. Luckily, there's nothing, or it seems like there's really nothing to be worried about. He begins sawing through monster after monster, and it's basically an onslaught for the good side of the people. For Naofumi being the hero, Rautalia and many others that are currently at Loot Village, it seems like it's +1 for the good guys. But that +1 for the good guys isn't as simple as the storybooks. It's not as simple for some animes that Naofumi may have watched or games he may have played in the past. That there are outside effects. People that are supposedly good aren't always good. And he's seen that in the beginning of this world, and he's going to see it now. When magic arrows and magic spears begin to fall down and rain on Loot Village, explosions alike, Naofumi is forced to be put in a situation to protect the people around him. And when he does, he's extremely injured, and before anybody can even get to Naofumi, the injury turns to fatal. Well, let's just say the Knights of Melromark have just killed one of the heroes. They might not deem Naofumi as one of the heroes, but one of them has just fallen. Rautalia would be pissed, would be angry. She would charge in at the knights that would eventually arrive, but then, unfortunately, she would die too, laying there lifeless. Loot Village would step up and try to protect them, but nothing would happen, nothing would work. And the knights would eventually leave the town in ruins. And unfortunately, some of Loot Village would have passed on as well. Some of the younger people that were defending it, some that were training, but others did survive, hoping to get stronger, hoping to get better, being able to protect their village better the next time. But they're sad. Sad at the fact that the hero, the chainsaw hero, just died, and his companion did as well. They grab their bodies, each one of them, and begin to make some sort of ceremony to, well, commemorate them. But just as they're doing this, the knights and many others come in and take the bodies of both of them away, as if they don't want it to be known as that one of the heroes and their companion died in the midst of this battle. Nobody needs to know that Naofumi was even one of the heroes. He gets taken away, eventually being taken away to the Van Richnot territory. Now this is where they would stop. It seems as if one of them is a demi-human, and they decide to bury them, at least over in the Van Richnot territory, because of their love for demi-humans. But this would actually be a bad decision. A decision that would be a massive, massive mistake in the near future, because before their burial, before everything is put to rest, Naofumi begins to change, and so does Rautalia. In death, obviously her slave mark would poof and disappear into nothingness, but it would be replaced by an odd looking ring. No, it looks like a weird string, like a motor, as if you pulled the string, it would start some sort of lawnmower. It's weird. Both Naofumi and Rautalia have this sort of weird thing on their chest now, and in a matter of, well, seconds of realization, they reawaken, revived. They're no longer dead, and their levels have spiked drastically. But on top of that, it seems like there's potential for even more levels if they do a certain action. Their levels went from from 20 or maybe even a high 15 to 17 to a massive 35 each. Somehow they gain strength, but it's because of one thing, that little tiny pet. They had no idea what it was, no clue, no connection, no nothing. What is it? What was it? It was somehow a connection with Naofumi and Raphtalia that allows them to be stronger, that revived them, brought them back, and now they're alive once again. Obviously, Van Richnot and many others that are currently there in their little territory are shocked and are kind of, in a way, scared. But Van Richnot calms them all down, telling them that it's okay, that these two right here were protecting an entire village on their own for a while, and they would have basically done it successfully. But unfortunately, they didn't have the defenses to stop the Knights of Melromark from raining hell from above to practically kill them all. Immediately, everyone there is shocked to hear this. Wow, they sabotaged their own heroes? In which Van Richnot explains that this hero is different. It seems as if he wasn't the shield hero like they were supposed to expect him to arrive as. The chainsaw is obviously a given, or a giveaway, and he explains to all of them that he is a hero. He might not be the shield's hero, but he is a hero at the end of the day. But he is the legendary chainsaw hero, someone that could truly save them all. But Van Richnot comes over to them once again, telling them that they can't stay here. Everyone believes them to be dead, especially the castle and the kingdom of Melromark. If they stay here and they find out, there's going to be an issue with them being alive. They wanted them dead for a reason, so they need to get out of here and go to the nearest territory that's, well, right next to them. The closest country they can currently go to is known as Shield Frieden, and it would be best if they do so as well. Van Richnot begins to supply them with as much as he possibly can and tells them that they always have a place here if they need to come back. But he recommends staying there as long as possible, get stronger, because at the end of the day, it seems as if there's a pathway that they will need to go down that is nothing and nowhere near like the ones the past heroes did. Naofumi, Raphtalia, and whoever else is soon to come onto the party, if that means anyone else at all, well, they have a long, hard journey ahead of them, and it all starts with their transfer to Shield Frieden, a place that may greet them properly and may want them there. But at the end of the day, the problem is the waves. And the problem, well, before the waves, or in between that time period, will be the heroes. The heroes are an issue. Sword, spear, and bow. They don't care about the well-being of the fourth hero. They don't care about the legendary chainsaw hero. So now, him and Raphtalia will have to do it on their own. How will this occur? And what will happen after Naofumi and Raphtalia has finally revived? What happens with their brand new powers, and what can be even lurking in the shadows of what's beyond their powers that they currently have right now? Will they be strong enough to take on what's ahead? Well, you'll have to find out in the next part of What If Naofumi Was the Legendary Chainsaw Hero. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, and make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And sorry that it took so long to even get this part out. I've been super sick. As you can tell, my voice is actually straining a little bit now because I've been recording for a little bit. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.